All right, so before we do the rest of today's show, I want to introduce you guys to a friend and someone that I've gotten to know through social media. I've gotten to know through our buddy Matt Pine, someone who, and I tried to explain this the other day as I was talking about him on Twitter. Twitter's a miserable place. It's just awful. Most everyone on Twitter is terrible, and you can say the most benign thing, and everybody wants to scream at you and tell you about how wrong you are. And I've really appreciated getting to know this guy, who's a big part of Orioles Twitter in general, because he's not like that. He makes Twitter more pleasant. He makes you want to be on Twitter because you can just sort of have fun and be pleasant, and everybody talk about the things that we're talking about and have a conversation, and that's so rare, and I wish it wasn't, but that's the reality. But as I said, he's a big part of Orioles Twitter, and right now he's sitting in a hospital in New Jersey. And we're going to do a lot of lighthearted stuff today, but I think it's important to hear as we go through this from someone who's going through it. He's at Roar from 44 on Twitter. He's Justin LaBor, and he's joining us this morning here on Glenn Clark Radio. Justin, it's Glenn and Kyle. It's great to talk to you, bud. I guess I need to start by asking how you doing today.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
We're okay. How you feeling?
Sorry if I sound a little weak. It's just because I do feel weak. I woke up just feeling even more run down than I went to bed last night. Taking a lot out of me for sure, whatever I have. They haven't diagnosed me with coronavirus. I do want to say that up front. But that's partly because they don't have any tests here at the hospital. So they have no idea what I have.
So this is part of the reason I thought that I'd like to. You're dealing with something that's almost unfathomable in the midst of a national crisis. Can you just tell me what happened? Like how this all started, that you ended up in the hospital the other day?
Yeah, sure. It started over the weekend. Friday night I went to bed just, feeling a little run down, maybe just thought, okay, I'll go to bed and hopefully wake up feeling better in the morning. But I kept waking up with problems breathing, and I don't have problems breathing. My lungs were hurting. I couldn't expand them. They physically hurt. I mean, that's the only way to describe it, is if somebody punched me in the lungs. I didn't necessarily have a fever, but I just felt run down at that point. Saturday, after a horrible night, I did have a fever. By now, it was 100.6. Then it went up, and by that night, it was 101.8, and I couldn't breathe in any position. I couldn't take a deep breath to save my life. I just couldn't expand my lungs. I was coughing like crazy, like getting into coughing fits if I moved even just a little bit. And that continued into Sunday, where the fever peaked at 102.5, and I said, I can't ignore this anymore, so I went to the hospital.
Justin, when you first started feeling something, was your immediate thought, oh my God, I think I have it, or was it your immediate thought like, no, this is just, there's some weird thing going on right now, and I'll feel fine again in an hour?
I won't deny that it crossed my mind. It definitely did, because it's natural. You hear everybody talking about it right now. So the first thing I did do was look up the symptoms on the CDC, because I wanted to be clear exactly what I need to be aware of. There's so many different reports out there. I wasn't sure what was real, what wasn't, because the information has not been consistent in my mind at all. So I went to the CDC website, and everything checked the box. The tightness in my chest, it actually compares flu versus coronavirus, and I knew I had the flu shot. I knew you could still get the flu even with the flu shot, but everything that the coronavirus had as far as symptoms checked the box for me and explained how I was feeling as far as the high fever. My entire body ached like I've never felt before, and I felt run down. If this was only a flu or something else, I've never had anything like it in my life. So once I saw that, I said, okay, what are the next steps? And it said, well, isolate yourself. So I did that, but it kept getting worse, and I said, I can't ignore this any longer.
Justin, you get to the hospital and you explain what's going on, and I think this is what's driving a lot of people mad that are that know you and are realizing that this is happening to a lot of people. You get to the hospital, you say, here's what's going on, and they tell you what?
Yeah, I get to the hospital, and to be honest, Glenn, I expect it to be taken seriously as soon as I mentioned my symptoms. That just as a precaution, they would take me away from everybody else, isolate me just to rule it out. But they left me in the waiting room with everyone else. They gave me a face mask, which I was thankful for, but they still left me in the waiting room with everyone else. Who knows if they had it? Who knows if I had it? We have no idea. But it was a full waiting room. I was not the first person seen. There was no, I'm not here to say that my case was more urgent than anybody else, but they didn't treat me as more urgent until they finally took me back. They weren't even talking isolation or anything at all. I'm in the back about an hour later after being in the waiting room, and they start asking me questions about how I'm feeling, and all of a sudden they'd say, well, let's isolate you to be safe. So they get all the medical staff out and everybody else that was in the room. My mom was with me, and they get them out of the room, and they close this big, heavy door. And that was it. That's when things started to change.
Our friend Justin LaBor, Roar from 44, is with us here on Glenn Clark Radio. Justin, I think this is important for people to know, because I think there's a lot of people that are sort of approaching this and saying, I'm young, I'm healthy, I'm good, I don't have to worry about anything. For people that don't know, you're not elderly. How old are you?
I'm 36.
Yeah, you're my age.
Yeah, exactly. I'm 36. I don't consider myself old. I am in generally good health, although I will say I do have an ongoing medical condition right now. I have an internal spinal fluid leak that has not been fixed. I'm a patient at Johns Hopkins, coming all the way from New Jersey, hoping that they can fix it. That's a separate story, but has nothing to do with this. But it could it could affect my overall
the risk
response to the virus. That's what they tell me.
Yeah.
So it doesn't affect how I get it. It doesn't affect how my body handles it, but it could affect where it goes in my body at that point.
And I think the reason why I wanted to point that out is when you and I talked last night, I think what I'm coming from is that I think people need to hear your voice, because I do still think there's a dismissiveness to this. There's I don't have to worry about anything, I'm going to be fine type of attitude that a lot of people are taking. And I can only imagine how much that's driving you nuts right now as you're going through what you're going through.
It really is, Glenn, because honestly, and I said this to you last night, as frustrating as it is that I have not been tested, and it looks like I will not be tested. I mean, the words out of the chief of infectious disease here, who has been great, let me say that up front. The medical staff has been wonderful. Whether I have it or not, they're putting themselves in harm's way, to take care of me, and I appreciate that. But the words out of the infectious disease doctor's mouth were, right now, if I did test you, we would have to wait 7 days for results, and the way your symptoms look, we don't know if we have that long. So we cannot go down that path with you.
Justin, I'm shaking.
That's a failure on so many levels, in my opinion.
It's unfathomable. It's unconscionable that this is what we're dealing with. What's your message? What's your message, Justin, to people that are still maybe not fully grasping what's going on right now?
Honestly, my first message may surprise you. It's not going to be it is important to pay attention. It's important to recognize your symptoms. My first message is something that has helped me: stay hopeful. There's so much negativity out there, Glenn. It's all over Twitter, as you said yourself. It's all over social media, period. And that influences how we feel about the virus. That influences how little we take it seriously, because there's so many jokes about it. It's just for old people, I don't have to worry about it. Or, I can go out. Or people are giving people a hard time for going out, but they're still not taking their own symptoms seriously because they feel young and strong. So stay hopeful, but take this seriously. If you have symptoms, if you do have a fever, and you do have trouble breathing, and I mean where you feel like your lungs cannot expand, and you have a cough, get checked out. At least talk to your primary care doctor. I am being told by infectious disease, not everyone needs to be admitted. So not everyone does need to be admitted, but let them make that decision.
Right.
You are not a doctor. Don't make that decision for yourself, because the longer you wait, the worse it can get.
It seems like it's just not so hard to, and again, there's some probably irony in me saying this as I'm sitting in a studio today, but it's just not that hard to stay home and try to help this process of avoiding as much as humanly possible more guys like you getting this.
Well, no, look at it this way from my perspective. As I said earlier, I have... Excuse me, I'm so sorry.
Trust me, we understand.
I have been holding that in as long as I could. I have a spinal fluid leak. I have not left my house more than about 5 times because of that condition since June. And that's been for doctor's visits, the last time in February. So the only chance that I've had of being exposed to this is friends and family who have been out, even in normal public places, grocery stores, work, wherever, bringing it home to me. That to me opened my eyes to the power of this virus, because when you think about it, if I'm home and they're bringing it to me, where did they get it? They got it from a grocery store, or my sister works in Atlantic City in a casino. That could be likely. She's around a lot of people, and they're not being tested because I'm not being tested. So who knows if they have it or not, and the exposure just keeps expanding and expanding and expanding.
Guys, I need you to know this is real. When I talked to Justin last night, and we talked a couple times on Twitter the last couple days, I said I don't want to exploit what you're going through. I just feel like there's still this disconnect that for so many people it's not real, or it's, hey, Donovan Mitchell looked like he was fine on a video the other day, or they already released Tom Hanks from the hospital, right? Like, this is real, and Justin, I'm terrified. Because I'm telling you, man, like I as I said, and as I keep saying the last couple of days, we don't know each other like on a personal level from like, growing up together or something like that. But I've gotten to know you, and you're a tremendous dude. Like, you're one of my favorite people to deal with on Twitter. And look, in doing what we do for a living, we deal with a lot of, terrible, terrible people on Twitter. I'm so like scared, but I think it's really important. And what I appreciated so much about what you said is if one person can understand this because of what I'm going through, it's going to make a difference.
Absolutely.
That means a lot. It means a lot that you're being brave in the face of this, and you're being courageous, and you're
hopeful, yeah.
And hopeful is such a great word. It's such a great word to use, hopeful, man.
It's all I have, honestly. I mean, I could sit here and worry about things that are beyond my control, or I could choose to stay hopeful and stay positive, because that's a much better outcome, in my opinion.
Justin.
Why worry about something out of my control? It's not going to make it any better. And honestly, on that note, I do want to say to anyone that's listening, if you have reached out to me, thank you so much. I've been overwhelmed by the outpouring of love on Orioles Twitter by people I've never even heard of. I mean, it's an amazing community. Twitter itself, it can get pretty nasty. You're right, Glenn, but I'm so thankful. Orioles are a huge part of my life. They are my life. And to see the community just rally around me and support me in ways that I could not even imagine have been so helpful to keep me positive and to keep me strong. Thank you to the guys at at the Foul Pole Pod, and they hit the Foul Pole, Zach Goodman and Matt Pine, who Glenn.
Yeah.
They reached out to me the second they heard it in DMs and said, what can we do for you? And others have done the same. So thank you to everybody who's just been there. Whether you know me or not, it means the world. And if you know others that are struggling, whether they're just anxious about this, reach out to them too. We're not alone. We're here for each other. That's what it's all about.
Justin, with that in mind, tangibly, is there anything that people can do for you right now?
Not for me. I am a person of prayer, so if you could, please pray for me. I would appreciate it. Whether for you that means good vibes, love, whatever that means for you, I do appreciate any of those coming my way. But please, the best thing that you could do for me is to take this seriously, because if it could happen to me, as somebody who has been home since June and has left the house about 5 times, and being exposed to it possibly, from I may never know if it's true or not, but if this could happen to me, it could happen to you or someone you know. If you don't want to get your family sick, stay home. If you don't want to get yourself sick, stay home. But if you do have the symptoms, take them seriously. Don't ignore them. Don't just assume you will get better, because every day I'm here, I'm getting worse.
Justin, I'm going to ask you for permission to still, as you and I have gotten to know each other, we like to goof around on Twitter. I'm still allowed to have fun and be lighthearted on the show today, correct? All right.
Absolutely, please do, and I'll be listening.
Justin, man, we love you, and I've meant that. Like getting to know you over the last couple of years and interacting with you, you've been one of my favorite people to talk to, and anything that we can do, please tell me. But I'm greatly appreciative of your words because I think things just got way more real for a lot of people that haven't been taking this seriously enough.
Yeah, I don't know anybody else with it, I'll be honest.
Yeah, this is the first time when I saw it with you, I said it hadn't hit me. I hadn't been able to put a face to it yet. I hadn't been able to, and so I think it's important, man. I think it's really important. Justin, I'm going to be in touch, obviously.
Thanks, man.
Seriously, take care of yourself, and let's talk as this goes on, all right?
Thank you. And if anybody has any questions and wants to reach out, again, you can hit me up on Twitter. You will not bother me. It's actually a great distraction as long as I'm awake and feeling strong enough. Roar from 44.
Yep, at Roar from 44.
Please do.
Justin, love you, man. Thank you for doing this.
Love you guys. Thanks a lot for having me.